Pope Leo to continue Pope Francis, but not as an autocrat. Today is the feast of Pope Saint Celestine V, who was a holy man, but a bad pope, and thus resigned the papacy. This reminds us of the fact that a man can be holy, but his papacy can still turn out to be a failure. This is because holiness does not give you the particular personality, the particular administrative acumen, which is necessary for the pontificate. This feast comes the day after our new Holy Father had his inauguration Mass, attended by lay nobility from around the world. In his homily, the Holy Father made several striking remarks. He began with the first page of Augustine's Confessions. Lord, you have made us for yourself, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. Pope Leo outlined his summary of the ministry of the Bishop of Rome, which indeed, as Augustine says in another place, is ever ancient, ever new. Quoting now from Pope Leo, quote, "The Bishop of Rome is a shepherd capable of preserving the rich heritage of the Christian faith and, at the same time, looking to the future in order to confront the questions, concerns, and challenges of today's world." End quote. Pope Leo then spoke these fearful words, quote, "I was chosen without any merit of my own, and now with fear and trembling, I come to you as a brother," end quote. Pope Leo went on to say that his hope as the successor of St. Peter is, quote, "to be a fisher of humanity in order to draw it up from the waters of evil and death," end quote. To do this, the Pope explained, Peter must be filled with the love of the Father and fish for men, not with power, but with self-sacrificial love. But then he said something interesting, quoting Pope Leo, quote, "Peter must shepherd the flock without ever yielding to the temptation to be an autocrat, lording it over those entrusted to him," end quote. This remark implied a criticism of his predecessor, causing Reuters to speculate that His Holiness was, quote, "reaching out to conservatives who felt orphaned under his predecessor, calling for unity, vowing to preserve the Catholic Church's heritage and not rule like an autocrat," end quote from Reuters. Pope Leo then outlined how this works with the world. Quoting Pope Leo again, "For our part, we want to be a small leaven of unity, communion, and fraternity within the world. We want to say to the world with humility and joy, look to Christ, come closer to him, welcome his word that enlightens and consoles, listen to his offer of love and become his one family in the one Christ. We are one. This is the path to follow together among ourselves, but also with our sister Christian churches, with those who follow other religious paths, with those who are searching for God, with all women and men of goodwill, in order to build a new world where peace reigns." End quote from Pope Leo. What is promising here is that the Holy Father is not offering the world some form of ideology, like dialogue, human fraternity, or building bridges, as if the church were a nonprofit NGO, but rather he offers the world the person of Christ, just as he said last week to the diplomatic corps. He seems to intend to plant his pontificate firmly in the pre-Vatican II social teachings of his namesake predecessor. For he then quoted Rerum Novarum for at least the second time in his public addresses, saying, quote, "The heart of the gospel is the love of God that makes us brothers and sisters. With my predecessor, Leo XIII, we can ask ourselves today, if this criterion were to prevail in the world, would not every conflict cease and peace return?" End quote, quoting from Rerum Novarum 20. All of these words took place yesterday. Today, according to Michael Haynes, Pope Leo spoke to ecumenical delegates who attended his opening mass yesterday and said this, quoting Pope Leo again, "Aware, moreover, that synodality and ecumenism are closely linked, I would like to assure you of my intention to continue Pope Francis's commitment to promoting the synodal nature of the Catholic Church and developing new and concrete forms for an ever stronger synodality in ecumenical relations. End quote. This appears to be continuing the Francis project. As Edmund Mazza observed, the greatest disciple of St. Francis of Assisi was a man named Brother Leo. Is Pope Leo really just trying to be the most ardent disciple of Pope Francis? But something else happened today which bears upon this question. One of the most controversial aspects of Pope Francis's pontificate was his dismantling of the John Paul II Institute. As Henry Sear notes in The Dictator Pope, quoting from Henry Sear, quote, following the family synods in September 2016, Francis disregarded the John Paul II Institute's rules, which stipulated that the chancellor must be the Vicar General of Rome, by appointing Archbishop Paglia to that role. End quote from Henry Sear. Paglia was infamous because of the erotic mural of Christ and his disciples, which Paglia himself had commissioned and approved to be painted by homosexual painter Riccardo Canali. Needless to say, the appointment of Paglia by Pope Francis was an assault on the whole pontificate of John Paul II, which had been embodied in his institute. Now, at the same time as Pope Leo commits himself to Pope Francis, we also get the news, again thanks to Michael Haynes, that Pope Leo XIV has named Cardinal Reina as Grand Chancellor of the John Paul II Institute, thus removing the controversial Archbishop Paglia from that position. Cardinal Reina is the Vicar General of the Diocese of Rome. End quote. So at the very least, we have the ending of Paglia and a new conformity to the original rules of the Institute, that the Chancellor of the Institute must be the Vicar General of Rome. If personnel is policy, then we will see what happens with Reina. In any case, let's return back to Pope St. Celestine V. Pope Leo might follow him and be a holy man, but a bad pope. Or he might be an ungodly man and bad as pope. Or, please God, he might be both a holy man and a good pope. Whatever happens, it doesn't change anything about our Catholic life. We are called to be saints. And to do that, we must suffer. As most of the Latin Rite heard in their Sunday Mass yesterday from Acts 14:21. It is necessary for us to undergo many hardships to enter the kingdom of God.